Welcome to the Intercut podcast channel, the weekly place to hear the latest on the movies, TV, and entertainment that people can't cut away from. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, he insists on a film by credit, it's Arturo Zurita.
Yeah, what are some of the best ones? A John's by? A joint by?
Yeah, I like a Spike Lee joint. What is the one that Osgood Perkins is doing now? Because I don't really love that one.
A Disaster by Osgood Perkins. A Tale? I don't know. What's
I
the
do
other
love
one?
Questlove John. That's a great one.
John's good. Empirical Picture by Wes Anderson. There's some good ones. Some good ones out there, but...
Yeah, a lot of good filmmakers out there as well. We are trying to talk about who are some of our favorite filmmakers on this week's episode. Trying something a little bit different with the director power rankings. We are each unveiling our top 10 directors right now. And I think that's sort of like a key point that we want to get across, because this is a reflection of how we feel at this moment in time, not necessarily who we think are the best filmmakers ever, but I think the idea behind this list is if you hear there is a new blank movie coming out and all you know is the name of the person who directed it, how high is your hype meter? How urgently are you going to get your ass into an AMC theater to see that film? And I think with the names we selected and more, they're filmmakers who are by themselves worth the price of admission.
100% agree. There are some of these filmmakers where I know it does not matter what it is that they've been in personally. And that's the other one that I'm going to. I told Zach, I was like, there are some classic filmmakers that are out here. Like, I'm gonna throw Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood is my guy. I'm not rushing to another crime macho, though. And that's my kind of equation that I'm working with here. My list goes all over the place, but I am so confident with the ones that I have on there because I have gone to every single one of these people's movies in theaters.
Exactly. So we're hoping to reflect our moods at the moment. Maybe things will change. All these people have films in the pipeline, some of which have seen, some of which we're just excited to see. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of filmmakers to get excited about. And I don't know, do we want to do any honorable mentions, or should we save that until we're a little further up our lists?
I like that. Yeah, let's wait till we're a little further so we don't spoil it.
All right, cool.
Also, they get more mad when we do it early, and it kind of dissipates.
Exactly.
When they get to know us a bit.
Yeah. You gotta get accustomed to our flavor a little bit.
There you go.
Coast in for the episode. I don't know. Anyway, so these are our personal lists. They're not your opinions, they're our opinions. They're just how we feel at this moment of time. But I definitely am curious to know who are on your director power rankings. So be sure to let us know in the comments below this episode. Without further ado, why don't we kick off our list? Do you want me to go first with my number 10?
Let's do it.
All right. So lots of filmmakers out there who've made lots of interesting movies. Lots of filmmakers out there with long storied careers to choose from. I didn't do that. I'm going with somebody who I have been really excited by their recent output, quite recent in some cases, and they're just a filmmaker who, even if they're only at the beginning of their journey, I'm fascinated to see where it goes. I'm going with number 10 right now, Matt Johnson, the director of Nirvana the Band, the show, the movie, as well as previous efforts, Operation Avalanche and The Dirties, and our beloved film Blackberry.
The fact I had him pulled up is so funny, bro. The fact I had him pulled up is so funny.
Ready to go, locked and loaded in the chamber. Matt hasn't made a huge number of movies so far, 4 features as well as the show for Nirvana the Band, the show. But there's just something about his style that I find to be so electric and interesting. He's a filmmaker who is a real live wire, trying to kind of poke at nerves and uncover the interesting like crevices where he can find exciting and challenging material. I find all of his films to be pretty unexpected and deeper than you might expect, more thought-provoking than you might expect, and also just far more interestingly crafted than you might expect. There's a lot of really dynamic film making in all of his movies that makes me think he's thinking about films in a way that not a lot of other filmmakers do.
Yeah.
He's a deconstructionist in a certain sense. I'm just fascinated with everything this guy has done, and he's also an incredible interview. So even if it is a little early in the career, I got Matt Johnson at that number 10 slot.
Nice. Great pick. I'm going to have to put him as an honorable mention. That is, to me, what's your boy from Rap World?
Connor O'Malley. Yeah, he's somebody who could be on this list at some point.
But the way Connor O'Malley's like super hazy IPA over there, like really, really different.
Yeah.
This to me is like the best version of like, yo, I can recommend this stuff to anybody, and he's doing something that feels off kilter, but within it, Blackberry feels like a fully realized movie, not this like side project that someone thinks they could be doing. Nirvana is what we've been arguing for as like this masterpiece that is able to take the online culture and make it one into a film. And I agree with you. He's got that stuff down. I think he is the best in having done stuff since 2008 online. So to see what he's doing in cinema is fascinating because a lot of other people don't get that career. The way we talk about the Safdies, where nobody else has been in that realm of them starting in, the turning of the age when film was turning to digital, when we're going away from DVDs. This is an online guy through and through.
Yeah.
And I think that shows, and we love it.
He's a guy who like knows the tricks of digital cinema, but is also fascinated in the history of it and how it has existed. So he's somebody who, as you said, can kind of operate in both realms. He's really good at this sort of online style of content, but he knows how to adapt his strengths to feature filmmaking. And, even though it's the stuff like The Dirties that I find to be the most fascinating, Blackberry is so watchable, and that he can master both is really exciting.
He's got some really great movies this year.
Who do you got at number 10 on your list?
At number 10, I'm going with a director who doesn't make a lot of stuff in a minute, but every time she's made something, we have argued for her being the pick that needs to represent her country. Céline Sciamma. To me, watching Portrait of a Lady on Fire and pushing that, we had a lot of intercuties go, that's not my type of movie. Go. Come back out going, thank you. I didn't think that was for me. And that's the point. She is such a transcendent filmmaker, in where we have plenty of other female filmmakers that we're going to mention. One who's very near and dear to my heart, but I sometimes am wishy-washy on which ones I like from hers. And Celine, to me, has always been able to supply something where you see something different. Even from the last, like, it's been a while, but like Petite Maman coming out to Hulu was like a feature film that was a short. I think that anything that she has on the horizon is something that I'm going to root for, that I'm curious for. And it's one of the directors where if they were playing at a festival, where we're talking theaters, if her name came out at a festival, it'd make me want to travel to it. Celine.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. It's such a fascinating filmmaker, and I feel like she's also somebody who we've seen work in a couple different modes, but just really knows how to leave you with a story that like lingers inside you, that really burrows into your subconscious. So, great pick. Your number 9, or your number 10. My number 9. I'm going to go with a filmmaker who has kind of developed a singular style, one that is ripe for parody, but no one knows how to do it quite like the master himself. I'm talking about Wes Anderson, the guy who has been one of my favorites back since Rushmore and Royal Tenenbaums. I really love just about every movie this guy has made. Maybe there's a couple that aren't necessarily 5-star classics to me, but when you're watching a Wes Anderson movie, you're gonna get a film that is meticulously crafted, where every element that you see on screen has been pondered and labored over and placed exactly in the right spot. And even if the stories don't always connect, you're gonna get a visual feast. But man, when those stories connect, he's a filmmaker who knows how to hide a sneaky emotional wallop in his films. So, I revisited Royal Tenenbaums recently with the passing of Gene Hackman. It's one of the all-time greats, but he's still a filmmaker who I find consistently interesting. His last film, Asteroid City, I thought there was so much stuff to pull from that one, and so many great performances. It's another thing with Wes Anderson movies. You know you're getting a great cast. He's got Phoenician Scheme right around the corner, and I just cannot wait to see what's in store for that one. So yeah, Wes Anderson, always
Nice.
always an interesting film. But,
It doesn't matter what it is. Even if you feel
Yeah.
it, you got to see that in a theater. You have to. He's
gotta
one of
see
those
it
guys.
projected. Yeah.
Hey, I'm going with this next director who I don't think has had a bad film. And he says he's going to make every single movie with Michael B. Jordan. And I wonder if he's
Ooh.
going to continue doing that even after having 2 Michael B's in his movie. Ryan Coogler, to me, is one of the biggest directors that I put onto my boys because it was the easiest thing to get him to watch Creed and then sneak in what was Fruitvale Stations, showing all the other stuff that he has produced. And I truly think he is one of the best filmmakers that we have right now. And to have an original property like Sinners come out throughout IMAX, he's up there with Bong Joon Ho getting the IMAX. No one's up there, with the Oppenheimers getting the 143, but that's when you know they're making that next step. And he's done the Marvel game. I think he's made some of the better Marvel movies. I'm ready to see him go all out with original projects back to back to back after dipping into franchises.
Yeah, he's a filmmaker that I have in my honorable mentions, but he's a guy who really knows how to make a big, entertaining movie, a movie that's going to be like a 4 quadrants kind of hit. And those are really valuable commodities to have. I'm really excited, like you, to see how he'll operate now that it seems like kind of out of the IP treadmill,
We'll see,
and
yeah.
can work on some more of his original stuff. Like, I still am such a huge fan of Fruitvale Station, and I'd love to see what he could do now that he has more tools at his disposal. He can work with bigger budgets and bigger movie stars and bigger ideas. So, I'm quite excited for Sinners, but at some point he'll also hopefully bring it back to some of the more like emotional human stuff, and I'm sure he's going to knock that out of the park too. So,
And again,
yeah.
like when we're talking about like Celine, I was able to discover later at film festivals. When Fruitvale came out of Sundance, it's the reason we're at Sundance. Is the reason like we record the podcast from there. So, gotta
Right.
be in my top 10, dude. It's gotta be.
Absolutely. Well, you name dropped my number 8. I'm going with Bong Joon Ho of the recently released Mickey 17. Anytime that Bong Joon Ho is making a movie, it's going to be really interesting. And I think the reception to Mickey 17 being a little more muted exemplifies that, because just because that movie isn't like a 5-star classic, people are ready to dismiss it. But still, it is a wildly entertaining film that is a really incredibly realized vision. And Bong Joon Ho is always going to be working on a really high level, whether it's, the themes he's interested in or the visual spectrum that he's giving you, or just the kind of comedy that he laces into his films. I always find his films to be fascinating and full of thought-provoking material. He's a filmmaker who can do entertaining, and he can do really, pensive, compelling films too. I'm really happy whenever he's making a movie, whether it's in English or in Korean. So Bong Joon Ho,
As long as he's
I'll
making
see
one.
whatever the Parasite filmmakers got in store. I'm seeing it.
I got one. People are gonna disagree with me, but I know you got me. They could say his last movie was a flop. I don't care. I thought it hit. He has one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm going with the Babylon Whiplash first man director Damien Chazelle. If
The boy.
he's in director's jail, then we're his prison escape. I don't know what else to tell you. I will be there for the next
Put the
movie.
cuffs on me,
Put
officer.
the cuffs on me. Let's go. We'll Vin Diesel him out of the prison, bro. I'm a Babylon head. Whiplash is one of my favorites, and y'all playing about La La Land. Zach, I didn't tell you. I just got tickets to go see La La Land at the Philharmonic here in Chicago, where they're going to be playing it with it. Alina and I looked at when we went to our La La Land premiere, and I was wearing like somehow LME color. I was wearing blue. She was wearing yellow. I told her we got to dress up the same way. Maybe as like a cape. We got to go get the matching outfits for that. Because this has been a director I've been following through the entire time. Damien Chazelle's Whiplash came out of Sundance and was a big reason. Not just to go there, but why I started my channel to begin with as one of my favorite movies. You covered that at some point. That is like one of the movies on our original film YouTube group that got us into it. And to me, I've been there all the way. I don't think Babylon's his worst. First Man is at the bottom for me. And I don't even think that's a bad movie. I own it right there. I think he has done something phenomenal with every single movie. And there's always that moment to look in Whiplash, to look in La La Land, it's always a look, I guess. The looks in all of his movies get me every single damn time. And that's why he's got to be here in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, he's just one of the most dynamic filmmakers out there. He has this innate sense of rhythm in all of his films that is so electric and kinetic and fun. And I mean, I think there's just a generation, we're probably at like the top level of that generation, a lot of people below us who view Whiplash as just one of the all-time great movies. So I think he's kind of the guy for a lot of people. And look, he's an incredible filmmaker. I will absolutely be there day one for whatever that prison movie that he's working on, I guess, next is.
Let him get it done, bro. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
He's in director's jail and he's making a prison movie.
But yeah, Damien Chazelle, great pick. One of my honorable mentions. My number 7, I'm going with a guy who has not released a feature film in 12 years. Yet, if he decides to return to the director's chair, absolutely sign me up. I will be there first day. I'm talking about Mr. Spike Jonze, who has only made a couple features.
Spike Jonze.
Yeah.
He made that commercial with Pedro recently.
He did make that commercial with Pedro. He makes lots of Apple commercials, but not a lot of feature-length movies anymore. But dude, this is the guy who made Being John Malkovich, who made Adaptation, Where the Wild Things Are, and of course, Her. A movie where a man falls in love with a cell phone, who basically accurately predicted fashion 10 years into the future.
Fashion, AI, literally had to sue Sam Altman because he straight up copied Her and took Scarlett Johansson. Yeah, no, it's like through litigation. It's actually on the record that he is.
Right? Yeah, it's just like he's a filmmaker who is routinely fascinating in the way that he goes about making his films. There's nothing in a Spike Jonze movie that feels like he's just doing other filmmaker stuff. It's a completely singular, unique vision, something that does stuff that you didn't think was possible in movies quite often. Yet he is always there, like finding the ways to make the impossible entertaining. You know, he didn't necessarily direct the full thing, but he was also partly responsible for that incredible opening sequence in the latest Jackass movie.
And that's the part of it where you think like, oh, you're this guy who's so prestige. No, he hangs out with the Jackass boys. He's been in that dirty grandpa makeup. He plays the grandma. Like, what are we doing here? and even one of the best parts is like, we have a lot of, up and comers. I'm starting to like create a little list over here of the ones where it's like, you're not there yet, you just started, but I want to shout you out. And I think of like Sean from Didi. Like his inspiration was Spike, and he got Spike to be the voice in one of the voicemails for Didi. The inspiration that this man is it's insane. It's not a great pick. He's just been so long. I'm sorry.
He's just such a playful filmmaker too. You know, there's this sense of like experimentation and silliness in so many of his movies. I just love it so much. I want more Spike Jonze stuff. Speaking of Spike Jonze and places he'll pop up, your last pick, Damien Chazelle. He's an excellent part in Babylon as the German director who's trying to shoot the sunset.
Bro, I completely forgot of that. Yeah, that's right. Because then his girlfriend there you go. See, it's rhythm. It's a pattern.
Yeah. All right, so I got Spike Jonze at number 7. Who do you got at 7 on your list?
Dude, I searched up this guy and I went, have you ever made a movie I didn't like? Early 2014, I went everywhere looking for this little film called Like Father, Like Son. And when I finally got my hands on it, I was like, bro, I want to tell people about every movie coming out of every international aspect. And when we got to go see Shoplifters, when we got to see Monster, when we saw Broke, it is an embarrassing of riches for Koreeda. And I got to put him on the list. The only thing I could say is, damn it, Netflix. I still have yet to see the show that they just did not market as it being a miniseries from the man. But he has done knockout. Every single movie's been in my top 10 that he's made. So my only issue is it's not higher. That's on me.
Yeah. It's hard, right, when we're talking about these filmmakers, but he's a person who is so masterful at just like tugging at your heartstrings, just grabbing onto your emotions. I've cried at every
movie he's done.
Yeah.
Every single damn movie he's cried on. It was one of my first movies I saw at IFC Center. too when I went to New York. One of my first ones and my first TIFF as well. It's just, yeah, I don't know. He's one of the best international filmmakers. When he came here, his talk sold out like crazy. But I was really hoping, like that. That's how you know when I'm looking at their talks. Like, yeah, that's when I knew. So Koreeda right there.
Yeah. And you bring up an interesting point, too, because I feel like a lot of times we develop these deeper relationships with people who we get to see at Q&As or at film festivals and stuff like that. And for me, I had the chance to go to a Q&A for this director at the New York Film Festival after I'd already been so obsessed with him and his movies, which was just like a really amazing, like, pinnacle of my time doing this film critic work. But when I was at the premiere for David Fincher's Gone Girl, I just was like, man, how can it get better than this? How can it get better? The man is just an absolute master stylist where every single frame of his films, has been meticulously poured over so that every detail is controlled. And if it's not exactly as he likes it, he'll do another 50 takes to get it that way. But there's also just this like deep cynicism and perversion to all of his movies that I find deeply fascinating. They're movies that want to explore the depths of human experience, of human fascination. And they do it in ways that I often don't find to be lurid. I find them to be more like exploratory, and he unpacks them in a way. He kind of blows them up. And I just always find the characters to be so fascinating. There's few filmmakers out there where I feel like they've got multiple 5-star classics, and he's a guy for me where there's just, it's hard to make the Mount Rushmore because so many of the movies are that good.
Yeah. No, thoroughly through and through. I have him at 13. It's literally right there. There's no reason for me to not push him in. It's just because I thought his stuff was going to go to Netflix. We got that Netflix deal, Zach. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to see him in the theater. You can't bet against Fincher. He's above what a film person is. Him and you may have a director we've been talking about all day, so I don't want to spoil it. But that other director, to me, him and Fincher are like two sides of the same coin. One's a little bit more cynical than the other, but they're both the scrappiest filmmakers. Where you go through their IMDb and it's like, what role do you not do? You can do it all. One of my favorite Fincher stories, Gone Girl, which you were mentioning, that they mixed up everything. And he went and knew immediately, Ben Affleck, don't ever touch my camera again. I know where everything's supposed to be. Probably went up there, took the Dunkin' Cup, moved it too. You heard that? That for the re-edits, he literally in Panic Room fixed the Coke.
I saw. And he also like straightened the curtains. Sometimes he's a little bit mad with his obsessiveness, but
what you gonna do, right?
It's a genius. It's hard to argue with it, right?
It's better than some other OGs that we'll bring up later in the honorables who also take their remasters a little too much, but you got to respect them because they're the OGs. No, that's a perfect pick right there.
Your number 6?
Probably the one they're going to crucify me the most, but I had to put him in here because I don't care. Ari Aster, I will be there for every movie you make for the rest of the time.
Hey, the man.
Always. I will be taking no further questions, Zach. Other than, can this explain it?
I mean, perhaps the filmmaker who has tapped into the true sense of horror better than anyone else in his generation. Dude. I mean, if Hereditary isn't an absolute modern scary classic, then Midsommar is for you. And people have their issues with Beau is Afraid, but that is a movie that few people would be capable of making. It is a really distinct vision and a terrifying one, and the kind of thing that shows how Ari Aster is a filmmaker who cannot be copied.
And I think it's a brave thing to do because he knows in due time you'll look back at it and be like, oh, okay, it's actually not that bad. But in the meantime, he went through everything. Even one of your favorites, Matt Johnson. I sat through a Q&A where he ripped him to shreds for 10 minutes. And I'll take it because that's what an artist does. It's willing to put, you saw that movie, what he puts up on screen.
Yeah.
Dude, Toni Collette was in The Sixth Sense. How do you make her in Hereditary take the crown from herself again?
Right.
And then there's all the, the movies that you mentioned were so fantastic because Midsommar was one where I was saying, no, it's underneath Hereditary. Of course, he's gonna be in my top 10 when in due time, yeah, they're both 5-star movies in my eyes. Hereditary was one of the first that I was able to cover out of Sundance, and I remember that was like a big thing to make it or break it. Is this kid, does he know what to bring out of there? And I said Hereditary, and they said this one's gonna suck. 3 movies later, we still trying to say he sucks, but he's still gonna be there, and I'm gonna be there, front row. Watch a new Ari Aster movie, and the next one's a comedy.
Yeah, I
Western, I
cannot
think,
wait to
like-
see what Eddington.
Sure.
Yeah, right.
What was this one?
Disappointment
Remember how
Boulevard
good this
all over
one was?
again. Disappointment Boulevard. Yeah.
So I'm not married to the name yet, bro. But Ari Aster's got to make my list. There's 3 gentlemen that he gets compared to a lot. One will come up later, and I think you
Ooh.
may be mentioning the other one too.
All right. We'll see. We'll see. I'm pretty pleasantly surprised with ourselves so far. We're halfway through our list, and we
somehow.
don't have no overlap yet.
Yeah,
Feel like that might change with the next few.
I got you with ball coming up, so it might.
I'll kick the top 5s off with my number 5. And when I was trying to put my list together, there was a few filmmakers that came really close, but I couldn't quite put them on there. I wanted to put Martin McDonagh. I wanted to put Yorgos Lanthimos. They're both really great filmmakers whose movies I really love. But I feel like a lot of what I like about both of those filmmakers and other filmmakers who work in that similar register is that they're making Coen-esque style comedies. And I just got to go with the OGs, right? I got the Coen Brothers at number 5. They are the masters of making these like deeply weird, kind of quirky, mannered, hilarious comedies that are also like existential tragedies. Just so many.
You know
like,
they're going through
really
something.
Yeah,
Every time.
Exactly. So many fascinating movies across the spectrum of time, of space, of types of characters. They work in different genres and styles, and movies that are deeply serious and others that are slapstick comedies. It's clear to see which is the inspiration for which now that Ethan and Joel Coen have separated and one is making serious movies and the other's making goofy comedies. I like them best when they're together. So whenever they decide to reunite, I will definitely be pre-ordering my tickets to whatever film that is.
Same. Every time these brothers split, bro, you really start seeing it. So
Yeah.
no, good pick.
Can't wait for our dueling Safdie brothers movie later this year.
Another 2 duels that we will be there for, no matter what.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm starting out my 5 with a pick that's your number 1. We can save it.
All right, we'll save it. My number 4, I'm pretty sure is in your top 5, so I can throw back to you for your number 4.
I had somebody that, as I compared these two, I could see people coming at me between my 4 and 3. I'm gonna settle it here only because one's got way more hits. But a 2 for 3 on Jordan Peele has been one of the things that has really blown me away, because I think he's been one of the filmmakers that everybody wants to copy. Everything's Get Out-esque.
I got Jordan Peele at number 3 on my list.
You know, we can praise him. You know, Us is my only one where I'm a little iffy on.
Yeah.
When Get Out and Nope do so much work, I don't even care that Us was a miss for me, because Us has everything that even if I have to give it credit for. The visuals, the style, the thing that people really do connect with it. I can't deny.
No, and it's like we're talking about with Mickey 17 not being one of Bong Joon Ho's best movies. Like, yeah, maybe Us isn't as good as the other Jordan Peele movies, but it's
that's
still
your low?
iconic in its own way. He's got an incredible performance in it, visuals that people will never forget. And yeah, maybe it doesn't cohere quite as well as the other two, but man,
I mean, culture.
He is just a filmmaker with a clear vision, and his ability to balance that style and his like really rich thematic stories with blockbuster entertainment and big scale is something that is so unique and so powerful. There's a reason people constantly bring up Spielberg as a comparison.
I was about to say, what's been our joke? The man got back on the saddle to make a sci-fi after seeing this guy take it away. It's like, no, I'm going to remind people who the best is, but there's no way you don't put somebody whose name has already become the next Kubrick-esque, Peele-esque, Everyone's copied him. And for you and I, who are so much in the world of seeing how the films are made as well, and the production and the PR, he's been everyone's cheat code. It isn't just taking a movie and marketing it like his. From the ground level, they were begging anybody have a Get Out-esque movie, and we were bombarded with so many. That's culture right there. Jordan Peele, whatever he makes next, even if it's another Us, I'm there opening day.
Absolutely. Jordan Peele, excellent filmmaker. You're number 4. My number 3. So we're back to you for your number 3, which I believe is also my number 2.
Ooh, talk about the Odyssey, the Oppenheimer guy, the guy to make some of the best superhero movies of all time.
Absolutely.
The guy who changed the Best Picture 5 to 10?
Unintentionally, I guess, or maybe uncredited for that move, but
the boy.
he inspired it for sure.
He's the boy. And it's very rare that we get a director who finally gets their due, and it's actually not for a Revenant. It's actually for a movie that they could probably
might be their
hold
best, or at least amongst them.
Okay, again, for it to be this late in his career and to be coming out with stuff like that is incredible.
Yeah.
The person to take IMAX and go, yeah, it's Planes with Bane. Yeah, it's the Joker coming through this. It's Dunkirk. It's also Cillian Murphy's face. The landscape of his emotions right there. No one does it like him. I love how do you remember? You and I have been here a lot. We were around for Nolan haters.
Yeah. We've seen the tides turn, the ships turn for going in Odyssey terms.
I still have my receipts for people who now love him more than anything.
Right.
Damn, I know people who were hating Oppenheimer before it became their favorite movie as well. It's crazy. We're now on the other side of it, and it's also crazy. You know, we think of some of the classic filmmakers, the Tarantinos and everyone else out there who like tell you, no, Dunkirk's one of the best out there. Oppenheimer becoming what it's become. I think he's the staple of what a director is. And I know it's a little too much to say because I have other filmmakers here, and we did just mention Jordan, but I don't think it's ever the thing tit for tat. I think Christopher Nolan is our new Spielberg.
Yeah. And you know, Peele is like trying to come for that belt, but Nolan's the one with the belt right now. He is the best filmmaker of original blockbuster scale movies. There's no one else that knows how to make things on that scope with that grandness of vision while still having the integrity to make a good movie, a thoughtful movie of film that has incredible craft involved in it. It's just his movies are awe-inspiring. And there's not a lot of people who can inspire awe making movies right now.
Honestly. And that's what I'm saying, because I know Jordan Peele's in that similar reign, but I truly see him as an art house guy who somehow snuck into the mainstream. But Christopher Nolan can take the mainstream and make it the biggest thing possible. He's had that in him for the longest time. And that's why I feel he is the Spielberg. When you think of a director, today's age, they think of that. What Interstellar is for this new generation is their 2001. And who passed down the mantle to Spielberg, if not the guy who made 2001? And now
100%.
I feel like it's truly Nolan's. So, Christopher Nolan. Gotta be.
A great pick. Your number 3. My number 2. So once again, we're back to you. Who is the number 2 filmmaker on your power rankings?
So what was your 5?
My 5 was the Coens. My 4 was your number 1. My 3 was Peele, and my 2 is Nolan.
My number 2 is Denis Villeneuve.
I knew this was coming sooner or later. I got him at 11, but I knew you'd pick up the slack for me.
It's my guy. Whole filmography. We can go through it, but it's the whole filmography. To get as artsy as Enemy. To get as brutal as Incendies. To be as magical as Dune. To take the pressure of Blade Runner 2049 and have everyone say, none of us made him feel bad. We'd never put pressure on him. He came in with the pressure himself. We've never seen anything like it. He had nothing to say about the producers that was bad. All the producers just went, we've never seen someone care about a project so much. Love of cinema is what I see when I see him.
Yeah, and I really love when he is working with real people in ways like Sicario or in Incendies, but he's also perhaps our best imaginer of fantasy worlds, because whenever he's taking you to a fantasy world, as he does with the aliens in Arrival, or as he does literally with Arrakis and Dune, or even in Blade Runner 2049, where he's taking you into the future, they simultaneously feel very tangible and real and tactile, but also completely alien, like visions of a world that we haven't seen, but he has. And his ability to realize that on that blockbuster scale is so incredible. You know, you feel like you're on the sand dunes when you're watching a Dune movie. It's incredible stuff. He's a great filmmaker.
Prisoners.
Yeah.
Arrival, like he's just one of the best. He's been one of my favorites, and I always say when I come out of a movie and I go, "This movie's fantastic," people go, "You just say that because it's Denny," and I go, "No, Denny's my favorite." You just say that because Denny's your favorite, and I say, "No, he's my favorite because Denny's the best." It's because he makes movies like this, and I love every single one of them, and they're movies that we want to see on the big screen. You knew I traveled for Dune. I traveled for Jordan Peele's Nope. We both traveled for Dune too. He fits all the criteria here. Denny.
Excellent choice. So before we get to your number one and my number one, let's talk about some of the people who didn't make our list. Is there a person you think people will be maddest at us for not putting in the top 10s of our power rankings?
Easily. Look, you had mentioned the Coen, so I don't have to worry about that. But if there were some really big ones, you know, you have the Ridley Scotts, right? We can have these discussions.
Yeah. Maybe not at the top of his game right now, but if we're talking filmography...
You just said a top 10, not that I wouldn't go. I would still go. I go to the theater every Thursday, so I'm going to his. But, you know, it's not the top. James Cameron, when we were talking about restorations, is a guy who will always be there because he really pushes cinema and everything that he's in. But he's an honorable mention.
I was a little surprised you didn't take him because I know you're a big Avatar guy.
Yeah, well, I'm a big James guy. Him smoking up the budget because
Big Jim.
He's always going to be against them. To me, James Cameron, Michael Bay, they're sides of the same coin. One's the more down-to-earth working man, while the other guy, you know, he's a truck driver who became cinema. Guillermo, Clint Eastwood, like I mentioned, Peter Jackson, the Coppolas, Lynn Ramsey, Chloe Zhao. Yeah.
I think people are going to be a little surprised that neither of us had Tarantino.
He's my 12, I know.
I got him 15. So he's close. I've just, like, personally, he's never been my favorite stylistically, but he's obviously, like, a genius and incredible filmmaker. He's just not, like, the person who really gets me going, I guess, in terms of movies. We name dropped Steven Spielberg a bunch, but didn't actually include him in the 10. I mean, look, like, again, we're not going off of your record. We're going off of right now. And
I don't know if I might get BFG'd, bro. You never know.
Exactly, right? Like, I love me some Fablemans. I love me West Side Story.
You know, yeah.
Ready Player One?
Right?
I don't know.
Exactly, and that's the only thing. Because obviously he's the GOAT. Obviously these are the people. You know, not Quentin Tarantino. I had Fincher, Steven. I had Bong right there. I had Spike Lee. So I was very happy that you said Spike Jones.
I got Spike Lee in my honorables as well.
I'm obviously going to be there, but you never know which, you know, it's not always going to be a classic. It could be something else, which is also what's so intriguing about them. Alfonso Cuarón, Ava DuVernay, you know, my girl Helene Rain, which might be a little newer. Robert Eggers. Another
unmissable filmmaker, especially after some of the recent movies.
Hayao Miyazaki. I should consider him retired. Got to mention animator.
He keeps coming back, so might as well.
Coming back, yeah, might as well.
Yeah.
And then the one that I feel kind of weird on because we had so much. I'll mention the Julie Ducournau, like you had mentioned. Kelly Reichardt, which was one you had mentioned
my
as
girl.
Well. I don't know if you still have Emerald in your top number one, but the biggest one, bro, is Barry Jenkins.
Yes.
Right?
I mean, you know, Mufasa aside, that dude has not made a bad movie, and you know, we've seen some of the good work that he's done with Mufasa on other movies.
I have to give this man so much credit that we're spending more time on a person who's not in the top 10. But yes, the Underground Railroad on Criterion that I just bought with a one shot of a comic that they could not make into an episode because they didn't want to make him the money. You know, I'm one of the very few who doesn't want to hold Mufasa against him, even though it ruins that Jordan Peele thing that he said of, I want my collection to not be Marvel films. And Barry did it for that. But I've told you, and I'm working on this video, that Barry did it so that you can get freaking After Sun. So that we can get freaking Sorry Baby. He did that. For God so loved the world, for Barry so loved cinema that he gave his only begotten filmography. This man really took Mufasa, and I get it. It is completely open to the critiques. I've never seen a person literally go take a project to fund everybody else under that umbrella. And it is movies that y'all can't even play. What could it possibly been? You guys are suckers for After Sun. You guys are gonna, you guys are not ready for Sorry Baby. And there's so many other under the belt that he worked on that I can't look. I feel bad because Mufasa's there, but retroactively, I'm tying him with Céline song. I don't know, bro. It's Barry, you know.
Yeah,
it's Barry.
No, and I believe he just announced a project. Like the last week or two, where Zendaya is going to star in a film about Ronnie Spector titled Be My Baby. And if I could buy my ticket right now, I absolutely would. That sounds like an incredible project.
They're all good filmmakers, dude. I do also want to do another run of stuff of like newbies. Just mention some newbies. I don't know if you got some newbies.
Sure.
Like,
well, let me get some.
Oh, go for it.
Let me get through some of my honorables as well. I had Sean Baker right at number 11. You know, just won Best Director at the Oscars. Kind of hard to leave him off this list. Great filmmaker.
Big one, yeah.
Yeah, honorable mention. Yorgos I had at 12. I mentioned Denis at 13. Jonathan Glazer. Really amazing filmmaker. Yeah. Always is giving you a unique vision. He's on my list. Tarantino, Spielberg are the Safdies. Both of them, whether they're together or individually, I'm sure it's going to be good. Noah Baumbach. I think we both have a lot of time for Noah Baumbach.
Oh, yeah. We're actually kind of defenders since the last one, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Did you say Greta Gerwig as long as we're talking about that couple?
Hey, she's someone who should be mentioned again, if I did so.
Yeah. Aster, Eggers, McDonough, Chazelle, Jenkins, Sean Durkin. Sean Durkin is definitely climbing up that list for
me. The
Nest,
yes. Good call.
Yeah. Steven Soderbergh, Alex Ross Perry, Charlie Kaufman, now that he's starting to direct his own stuff as well. Yeah, I mean, there's people who I like a lot who maybe I didn't like their last one as much, like Adam McKay or Steve McQueen. But, you know, there's
Steve
great
McQueen's a good one. Thank you for that.
Darren Aronofsky. But, you know, I'll always have time for the Alexander Paynes and the Kelly Reicherts and the Todd Hayneses and Alex Garland, Richard Linklater, David Cronenberg. There's too many to name.
Yeah, but they need to be mentioned. I don't know if we said Edgar Wright, but I'll slip him in as well because he's always a fun director.
George Miller.
Hell yeah. They better give him the budget. But we also got some, like, up-and-comers, right? I also like to mention documentarians like Theo Anthony, Ezra Edelman is, for you and I, you already know this, like beyond what is a documentary. That man is making, like, he's editing the truth. And that's why the new one's not coming out.
The Prince one, yeah, unfortunately. I'll throw my guy Luke Lorenzen in there, another incredible documentary filmmaker.
That's
and
good.
we can even probably throw Lance Oppenheim on the list as well.
Because now he's made that jump, easily through and through. Just going down through so many other ones over here, you know, Park Chan-wook, how can you not mention him after I mentioned Koreeda, right? You got to name drop him. You got to name drop people like
Ryosuke Hamaguchi. Oh, Brandon Cronenberg, totally.
Right? We had one Cronenberg. Let me give it to Junior, too. Let me give some love to Mohammed Rasulov. He's always made great films every single time. I'm catching him at Chicago, from There Is No Evil to Seed of the Sacred Fig just last year. I think he's a good international filmmaker. We talked some brothers, Coens, Safdies. May I offer you the Talk to Me Boys?
Oh, yeah, the Philippos.
We told them drop the trailer and we'll think about it, but I got to give them the honorable mention. You know, they got the one film under the belt, but of course we're going in. Christopher Borgli, I got to mention him because you know he had that run for me with Dream Scenario and Sick of Myself.
If you weren't going to mention him, I would.
Bo Burnham.
Yeah, only made 8th grade so far, right? But
do you consider Inside?
I don't really, but...
It's separate, okay.
You know, like I know who he is, so I'm excited.
Wait, isn't he making Outside?
Is he?
I could just be making stuff up, but I thought he was working on Outside. Either way, his work on Nathaniel is another reason.
There you go. Yeah.
No, I like him. I like him a lot.
If we're talking about newer filmmakers, you got to put Jane Schoenbrunn on that list after I Saw the TV Glow.
Easily. Yeah. Jane Schoenbrunn.
Yeah. Maybe even Jesse Eisenberg after Real Pain.
And technically, we were big fans of his first one. We like that one a lot, too.
When You Finish Saving the World?
Cord Jefferson.
Oh, Cord Jefferson, absolutely. If this was a list of best Oscar speeches, he'd certainly be on there.
Easily.
We liked American Fiction. Julio Torres, how about that for Problem Misa?
That's a great one. That is a really good one. Joe Hunting, who did the We Met in Virtual Reality, had that other one at Sundance, and I feel like he's going to be another filmmaker who's really pushing that out there. But Rian Johnson.
Ooh, absolutely
coming on
should
to
be
these
on the
last ones
list.
over here. Someone's watching, thinking of a name, and they're going right before these honorable mentions. Will they mention them? Zach, what could it possibly be? I've got the one, because I know everyone's thinking of this name, but before we get to our number ones, is there someone we're missing?
I feel like there's some people who are going to want us to say Emma Seligman if we're talking about younger directors on the rise. Maybe even a little love for Kelly Freeman Craig. I've liked every movie she's done. Or Megan Park, who did My Old Ass.
We got recent news today. I'm throwing Lord and Miller for the stuff that they have done. Right? They're pretty funny.
That's a great call. Would you put Bradley Cooper? I'd put Bradley Cooper.
I would put Bradley Cooper too. You're in a safe space. You are in a safe space with me.
This is a pro Bradley Cooper podcast.
We're pro Bradley Cooper. But the biggest one, and I want to make sure because I don't want people to feel like we don't mention him. John Krasinski for his work in A Quiet Place Part 1. And Stop.
Todd Field. How about Todd Field?
Todd Field's a good one. How about what's his bubble
wait, dude. You know who we didn't mention, which we're definitely going to get hate for, is the Daniels. Everybody's favorite now.
It's who I replaced for Koreeda. I wish we could mention them.
Yeah.
No, they have to be. The Daniels were in my Swiss Army Man video answering questions. They're the goats.
Yeah.
They're the goats. Great. And then you put me onto other music videos and stuff. They're beyond even film. They're some of the best boys out there. But
yeah, incredibly creative.
I say yours, you say mine?
Sounds good.
Zach, tell me, on a level from 1 to 11, how excited are you for Paul Thomas Anderson's newest movie?
Got to crank that straight up to 100, buddy. I absolutely cannot wait to see new Paul Thomas Anderson on the big screen. He is just a filmmaker who, no matter what the project is, I find myself fascinated and intrigued by it. You know, he's a dude who makes these pretty inscrutable movies at times. Like they're not movies that come out and announce exactly what they're about, but they lend themselves so well to being tossed over and thought about and deconstructed and analyzed. And there's just so much you can either put on the movies or take from them if that's what you really want. But for the most part, I'm just always in awe of how he's able to come up with this really peculiar, singular tone where his movies never quite feel like anything you've seen before and just maintains it. I was in a screenwriting class many eons ago where we were being taught about 3-act structure, the screenplay structure that basically holds up every movie you've ever seen and liked. And some people in the class were upset about the idea that you have to follow 3-act structure in your scripts. And the teacher asked, like, is there a movie that you can think of that didn't follow 3-act structure? Somebody said There'll Be Blood, and they said, well, you're not Paul Thomas Anderson, so you should write in 3-act structure. But it's true, man.
That's funny.
He's allowed to do what he wants. He is Paul Thomas Anderson.
That's a good bit, bro. It's like when you hear someone singing a song and you ask them, hey, who sings this song? And they tell you, and you say, keep it that way, please. Stop singing. Damn.
Yeah, dude. It's shout out Ian Abrams. I've remembered it for many years since then. But it's just, he's my favorite filmmaker. His movies have meant so much to me. I love every single one of them. And I like, I know as a reviewer, I'm supposed to go into these things unbiased, but I know already that I love one battle after another.
Yeah. What are you talking about? If that thing ain't beating the one you hear reviewing, bro, you got to have some of that going in there. I mean, just There Will Be Blood. For me, my top two. Well, do you have a top two? Because my top two are Magnolia. And I know it's different for everybody, but Phantom Thread hit me like crazy. Yeah.
My top two are probably, I'll do a top three just because like Punch Drunk Love means so much to me. I love that movie. It just is one of those things that like can make me feel good on a day when I don't. But
is it not also like the movie that showed you don't underestimate a comedian?
My guy, the Sandman. Yes,
right.
Of course, it's the best Adam. I believe
it's like people
Roger,
mimic that.
Yeah, I believe it's Roger Ebert who wrote in his review of Punch Drunk Love that it's a performance so good that it retroactively makes every other Adam Sandler performance better. Yeah. I love it so much. But it's hard for me to argue against There Will Be Blood as his best movie. Just the way that Plainview represents everything wrong with American capitalism and greed.
My milkshake.
That performance also just so unreal. Love that one. And Magnolia, I just like...
Because There Will Be Blood gets everybody to talk about, what's his name, as the lead.
Daniel Day?
Dano grabbing the ghost out of the church and throwing it out.
Yeah.
Froze me.
Nuts.
Because I'd never seen something like that. And I was like, who is this man? And obviously, you know, we're not doing an actor's bit, but
yeah,
Paul Dano's Paul Dano. There is an energy to that movie that's electric. It's insane. It's
absolutely.
Take it away with Magnolia, because I've never seen a movie like Magnolia. I've never seen a movie like Magnolia since. What is a Magnolia?
Yeah, and it's the thing, like, even Paul Thomas Anderson says, like, he probably should have cut an hour out of Magnolia, but I'm really glad he didn't, because then we wouldn't have Magnolia. That movie is such a beautiful, empathetic piece of filmmaking. Best Tom Cruise performance, incredible, just from all the like John C. Reilly, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Julianne Moore. The hits just keep coming. William H. Macy as a Quiz Kid. He's so funny.
So good, bro. Nah, this is a guy where a new movie...
Quiz Kid Donnie Smith.
He's the guy when a new movie comes out, you rewatch them all.
Exactly. Yeah. As I'm absolutely about to do to get ready for one battle after another.
Hard to do with like a Spielberg, you know? Let's just quickly run through 60, but...
Hard to do with your number one as well. The guy that we've definitely made some time to watch his movies and go back to his old movies for this podcast. But his new movies are still hitting, despite him getting up in age. But tell me why you decided that Martin Scorsese is the number one filmmaker on your power rankings.
Because it's Martin Scorsese. The fact that he's even in the studio playing himself is unbelievable to me. We're talking about There Will Be Blood and what is it always compared to? Because they're both Best Pictures?
No Country or...
Yeah, No Country.
Yeah.
What was Killers of the Flower Moon and Oppenheimer if not the two that were duking it out and seeing people retroactively go, hey, no, I think we kind of slept on this movie, yes. And I would like to add that you guys were also sleeping for Silence the Irishman and a couple of the other ones. I think Martin Scorsese is the best filmmaker that we've probably ever had.
It's hard to argue against it, right? I mean, the man has made so many amazing movies, and even despite the fact that, you know, he is now 82 years old, he's a man who's remained incredibly curious and incredibly passionate, you know?
Why is he on TikTok with his daughter? Like, only a guy like him can get away with that.
There's a lot of filmmakers who are working into their swan song years and making really valuable, interesting stuff. But I don't know if anybody is doing it with as much just like passion for, like, every project feels like it's him trying to give a bit of his soul to the world, trying to either, like, you know, comment on the state of the world or make amends or something like that. Like, it is... I'm like honestly touched by how personally he gets invested in all of these movies still.
When we went back and you had me watch After Hours for the first time and it felt like I needed to add that to my top 10 of the year, that's when you know you're just sitting on stuff. When all of his movies are being ripped from King of Comedy, Taxi Driver. You've seen these even before you've seen these.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the template.
Yeah. Shark Tale. What a performance. What a performance. And Shutter Island, like, to me, when we're talking about directors who have movies that may not even be the best for some people, Shutter Island isn't my favorite, but I see the way people talk about that one as a big Leo movie with him. I prefer some of the other Leo movies, but how are you putting Raging Bull, Casino, Gangs in New York, The Departed, Wolf of Wall Street, like, what?
Yeah, a dude whose like 11th best movie is probably better than most people could ever make in their lives. You know, it's the range of hits, the just buffet of classic 5-star movies.
The Aviator.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the seventh line on IMDb, like on the what?
Yeah, like if we're changing the game and doing like desert island filmmakers. Like you go on a
Wow.
desert island, you can only watch their movies. Scorsese might win that list too.
Do you know Criterion at South by put out the video of the people who were waiting there since I think 3:00 in the morning or whenever he was out in after hours, and someone I think mentioned Hugo, and they were breaking down the Wonder whatever, and he was like, Hugo not even in my top half. He was making me like it. Martin Scorsese through and through, I think, is one of the best filmmakers because he is a true storyteller. Someone who can observe other people's things and have that, as you've been quoting Roger Ebert so much, be the empathy machine to translate it. We have so many artists. It's so random for me to call him a Kendrick Lamar, but the idea being that Kendrick can be surrounded by all the stuff that he has and create art from it. This was a little church boy who saw all of the mafiosos who came in and observed them, didn't judge them, and created some of the best stuff out there that he's making responses to, like he did for the ending of Killers, like he does for the ending of The Irishman. It is a living, breathing filmmaker like no other. And when he was questioned about Killers of the Flower Moon, and when you make movies about importance, he went, then you don't know how to make movies. Because if you think I'm making a movie right now because you think it's important right now, then you don't get that I'm making a movie that's supposed to last forever. Martin Scorsese, number one.
Beautiful. Cannot argue with that. And it's funny, you know, after we didn't have any overlap in our bottom fives, 4 of our top 5 were the same. But look, this is why we host a podcast together.
This is why we host it, exactly.
Yeah, we agree on a couple important things. And some of those things are that Paul Thomas Anderson and Martin Scorsese are the greatest filmmakers around.
Easily.
But I definitely want to know what all of you think. Who tops your director power rankings? Again, this isn't the best directors of all time. The directors who you've seen whose movies you like the most.
No,
This
we get
is who
you're the
you
smartest cinephile, bro. For sure.
We get
sure.
it. Yeah.
We get
Orson
it.
Welles, number 1, for sure. But
I like that.
If you have
I forgot
to
to say Charlie Chaplin. If he were to come back
Yeah.
from the dead, I'm there day one.
yeah, you know, John Ford, and John Ford, and then
With the horizon.
Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
Oh man. But
We
yeah.
forgot to mention for the flip.
Please let us know who tops your director power rankings. Comment, leave us an email, shoot us a message on social media, however you want to do it. We are at IntercutPod across social medias, at IntercutPod at Gmail if you want to email us, or you can hit us up using Discord, the link in the description to this episode. We're keeping the conversation going throughout the week over there. And another reminder, you can support the show by going to patreon.com/intercutpod or stay here on YouTube and click that join button that's below the video. I think that just about does it for our discussion of our favorite directors right now. You can catch more from me across social media at Zshevich. Artwork and people catch more from you.
You can find me over at LME Movies watching all the Scorsese films that come out, or you can catch me every week here talking about it on the Intercut Podcast.
Yeah, the Intercut Podcast. Make sure you keep it locked here every week where we're dispensing new videos for all of y'all. That's it for this episode. And until next time, remember, people say there's a million ways to shoot a scene, but I don't think so. I think there's 2, maybe, and the other one is wrong.